Welcome to the Marvel Alliance podcast, where we cover anything and everything to do with the Marvel Universe. In the comics, TV, and movies, we'll go from Earth 616 to the Mojoverse to the TVA in order to bring the Marvel Universe right to you. I'm the man without fear, Chris.
I'm your friendly neighborhood Brent.
Alliance
Assemble.
Assemble. Volume 217. I toyed around with saying, we are Venom. Or just have a person talking in my head at that point in strange ways.
Yeah, we'll get there. We'll get there.
We'll get there, all right. But yeah, we took last week off. It was a last minute kind of decision, but the way the news was shaping up, there really was none. And the one little news item turned into more of a bigger story towards the end of the week. So glad we kind of waited on that one. And it was a holiday week. Sometimes that works out in a way that just we're not going to put out a show if just to put out a show. We always try to bring you all quality. So hope you all enjoyed the Patreon episode that we dropped as a preview. Maybe it entices you to want to join the Patreon. A lot of back content out there, but hope you enjoyed our first episode of the Tales from the House of X, looking at Deadpool. So
Yes.
But how was your holiday week and this week, Brent?
Good. Can't really complain. Just celebrated my daughter's birthday last weekend, and
Happy birthday.
thank you. Guess not to me, but she's not here. She's with my wife somewhere. I think she's at the grandparents' house. No, we did that. Went through just another week of work, and otherwise, things have kind of settled down. A little. Things have settled down a little at work. They're still pretty busy, but it's not like it was. So,
It's the official closing down of the year.
We could at least catch our breath.
Same here. Yeah, we officially finished on Wednesday. We've got this kind of a second opportunity for some kids to increase their scores. We're doing that officially wraps up tomorrow if you listen to this today. So end of this week. We'll be done. We start summer mode, so 4-day weeks for me. I am a week away from my Comic-Con that's coming, Heroes Con, so I'll be very excited about that. And seeing a lot of my other podcasting and YouTube brethren coming into town, so it'll be a lot of fun. Looking forward to that. I've made my list for my first pass of creators I want to see, so then begins the task of going through my collections and organizing that to see how many things I'm bringing.
Yeah, I mean that's gonna be fun. I'm looking forward to hearing you talk about that for sure.
Yeah. So we've got a trailer, we've got some news. So let's get this underway. So we are part of the Geek Ultimate Alliance Network with 7 shows covering the wide range of geek and nerdom. To see the full schedule, check out the show notes below and subscribe to the Geek Ultimate Alliance Network on Twitter at UAPod Network so you know when all the shows drop. We also have a Patreon, if we just previously mentioned, and we've got 2 tiers. We've got our $1 tiers, our tip jar to say, hey, you think we're doing a good job? And then we've got our $5 tier with ad-free episodes, early access episodes, and Patreon-exclusive shows, including our first show, We Can Watch This All Day, the Marvel Alliance Infinity Saga Rewatch, 24 episodes covering the chronological reviews that we have done for the Infinity Saga. And now we are on to our next show, The Tales from the House of X, watching our favorite movies from the Fox era of X-Men. So we have 3 episodes up there, Deadpool, Deadpool 2, and The Wolverine. And Logan, I believe we are recording in about 2 weeks, I think.
Something like that. I'd have to look at the calendar, but I actually did my homework already. But
I did not.
Actually, no. You better do it. According to the calendar, we're doing it this Monday.
So, well, there we are. So
I mean, we can adjust if needed.
Nope.
But
Nope. See, that's why I always ask. I said, is it a couple weeks this week? Nope. Yep. You're right. It is there. So
I had
homework.
to check, but I did my homework already because I knew my weekends were going to be tight. Like this weekend, for example,
Gotcha.
I have zero chance I wouldn't have any opportunity to do it, and so did it already. And it was. I mean, we'll talk about it then. But I enjoy watching that movie. All jokes aside.
Yeah, so we were recording that this coming week, and it'll drop at the end of the month. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's been a bit, so I look forward to reminiscing with talking about that movie. I definitely adore that movie. But yeah, we got a lot of other content out there on the Patreon with DC Alliance doing their DC film through the years. We've got Joe looking at his Disney dives, looking at every single film released by Disney Studios, animated projects at that point. So on the 1st and 15th, he drops those. A lot of bad content out there. We want to thank our patrons. We can't do this without your support, but if you're not a member of our Patreon, take that time to go to www.patreon.com/GUA network to see all that. Join the Patreon. We greatly appreciate it. But if you can't join us, totally understand. But if you want to take 30 to 90 seconds and rate and review us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, wherever you get your podcasts, greatly appreciate it. And last but certainly not least, we want to thank our official sponsor, OrganicPriceBooks.com, for your omnibus hardcover collected edition needs. JP and the crew at OPB have got it going on with excellent customer service, immaculate packaging, ships around the world. New final order cutoffs had dropped. We've got new Avengers Omnibus Volume 1 coming back into print after a number of years. That wasn't happening. Marvel The End Omnibus, all the End miniseries, all collected into one project. Daredevil by Chip Zdarsky, the last volume of that illustrious run at that point. I just love that this cover right here with Elektra, a nice counter, and a counter to the first volume of it. So I like seeing that. X-Force Omnibus Volume 1 coming back into print. Secret Wars by Jonathan Hickman Omnibus coming into print for the very first time. I wonder why they're bringing that back, and I wonder why they're creating something like that.
I bet you that won't be the only time it comes into print in the next few years.
No, it won't. It won't. If you have already gotten the Avengers by Hickman Volumes 1 and 2, this is a huge double dip, but the only thing it is missing is Secret Wars. That is the only thing it does not contain. But luckily for me, I've got the oversized hardcover of that, so I am not buying that. I have saved myself some money. But if you need those and many other books, use the code MarvelGUA at checkout to get $2 off every single order. Use it an unlimited amount of times, and we want to thank them for being our official sponsor. All right, Brent. First one. When was the last time we broke down a trailer? It's been a bit.
It's been a while. It's been a while since we had a trailer. Would it have been Echo? Or no, it would have been X-Men 97.
Yeah, I think it was X-Men 97. Yeah. So and that is come and gone, and we miss it terribly. But so we've got we've got one MCU focused project this year, and then we've got Sony, and
then we got Sony.
Then we've got Sony. So we've already tried with Madam Web, and that was a movie we saw.
It was. Yeah, okay. I guess we can call it a movie.
It was released in theaters.
It was released in theaters.
It was released in theaters. We've got Venom coming up next, and then Sony will be closing us out with the soon-to-be Christmas classic, Kraven the Hunter. So this is the the middle one, and I will dare to say this right now. If I had to choose my guess, this might be the better of the three.
Well, Madam Web, we already know is a dumpster fire. Kraven's Christmas classic looks like one from the trailer. Venom, we know it's Venom. We know what we're getting with this. So yeah, I would say among those three, this one probably has the highest chance to entertain.
Yeah. So for those that need a catch up on before we start this trailer, let's review where we last saw Venom. We saw that lovely end credit scene at the end of Let There Be Carnage, where he's talking about connecting to the hive mind and being and he's getting transported into 616 and sees Peter on the TV, and that we were saying, oh, we're gonna get him connected to No Way Home. And then we get to the end of No Way Home, which is probably one of the biggest smacks in the face of an end credit scene, where he is there talking to the bartender, talking about what's going on in 616, and then he is whisked back away, and a little piece of him is left behind. Or was he left behind?
And it's so confusing because there was a recent rumor that little piece of symbiote was going to play into the Tom Holland Spider-Man 4. Mm-hmm. Which you would think it would, right? Like they left a piece of symbiote there. Now's their chance.
Yep. And I'll have some theories in the sense of because I went back and kind of looked at camera angles. I said, they're going to find some really cheap loophole way out of this one.
Yeah, it's going to be like Vulture and Morbius all over again.
Yeah, it is at that point. So, all right, we're going to play the trailer as always. For those watching live, no sound. It's going to be a little bit smaller, but we'll stop at various points. All right, so we get Eddie back in Mexico. He's wearing the same stuff he wore at the end of No Way Home, and he's kind of walking through this kind of rough area of wherever he is in Mexico.
This looks like a fun sequence to me.
I will say this about the Venom movies itself: the action sequences are what I expect them to be, and they entertain me.
They're entertaining.
Good.
Yes.
Yeah. There's what I want. Saying, okay, if I've got Venom, I want to see Venom go all out and go crazy with the power set.
I've softened on the first Venom since I first watched it. The second one I liked more than the first one. I stand by that still. Like this scene here where he's just like, Venom's like, tell me when, and he says when, and then he just opens up on these guys. Like, I think this is going to be a cool scene to watch.
Yep. Yeah, and we obviously are thinking that it's going to be pretty much at the beginning. We're seeing the beginning sequence of the movie. He goes crazy. I like it how he uses Eddie as a weapon himself.
Yeah.
And getting all these guys, whatever they are, and you get this half look that we got in the first one, trying to say we are Venom, and they're not in sync. And I find that really interesting. I know where we left off with them in the second movie, but really in the first movie they got it down pat, and so they had this big regression, and now they're really not getting in sync in that sense. I was like, oh, I thought we kind of can move past this.
This is a joke that didn't work for me. I was
it
already just rolling my eyes at it. I'm like, no.
This is going to be like, it's going to last like 10 seconds, and it would have been 7 seconds too long.
Yeah.
I get what they're trying to do. And even Morbius made fun of it when they did it. But as I said, the first time they did it in the first movie, it was good. I liked it. It worked. It got the fear of Venom at that point.
Yeah, so as he just said it to that guy, he was going to turn into a turd in the wind.
Yep. Which I actually do like that sequence, just because I said I accept this. But he said, yeah, we got to work on this, and proceeds to bite all their heads off and eat their brains, because that's what Venom does.
Sure. There they go.
Mm-hmm. And he says he takes them to all the finest places. So we get in the background of this throughout the rest of the trailer, Space Odyssey by David Bowie, which is appropriate for a few reasons. I'm a big fan of David Bowie, but long story short, it's about an astronaut who is sending his last message to Earth before burning up in the atmosphere. Which, the title of this movie being The Last Dance, we're kind of getting hints of, is Eddie going to make it at the end? Is Venom going to make it at the end? This is... He's kind of come to... He hasn't really... And that's the interesting thing about Eddie Brock as a character from the comics to now. I'm not saying Eddie Brock in the comics is lands on his feet a lot, but man, Eddie really is not in a very good place at all. And he has yet to even come close to really, until the end of the first movie, landing on his feet. That's the only time we've seen him possibly be successful.
It's interesting to think no, the comic version he definitely doesn't land on his feet. But once again, I gotta get out of the way. How do they not call this movie Venom: Lethal Protector after the jokes in the last movie? And it's right.
I've got one word for you. Sony.
Yeah.
It's right there, standing right in front of you.
As soon as you said one word, I'm like, well, that's obvious. But
I've got a few letters: SPU, PUMC. So
yeah, all right. I will.
Yep.
I accept your premise.
Yep. So we get the army. We got this army base. So they're looking to be picking up where the Life Foundation left off and weaponizing the symbiotes or symbiotes.
Symbiotes. Yeah.
Symbiotes. Oh God, I still never forgive him for that. And so in the comics, this would be, we get our first look at,
Keely Jones.
Keely Jones, yes.
Keely Jones from Ted Lasso.
And Ejiofor, our Baron Mordor, but more than likely playing a different role. And so my theory is he is going to be playing a character. I don't know if he's been officially named, and I didn't even look at the cast list necessarily. Orwell Taylor, can you pull that up and see if his Ejiofor has been named as a named character yet?
He is, according to IMDb, he is not.
Okay, so my theory is right now is going to be named a character called Orwell Taylor.
That said, IMDb doesn't have names for just about anybody.
Okay,
Like,
so they were
Mrs. Chin is labeled. Danny Rojas from Ted Lasso is
not
his
Danny
name is,
Rojas.
well, no, it's just bartender.
Yeah.
So like IMDb doesn't have names for any of these people yet.
Gotcha. So, who Orwell is in the comics? He worked at a superhero prison known as the Vault. He was a high-ranking general, which is looking like he's a high-ranking military officer here. His son Hugh had followed him in his footsteps into the army. Working at the Vault, he ended up being killed by Venom, his son. Orwell swore revenge and formed the group. You'll probably remember this one when I say it. The Jury, who were judge, jury, and executioner. They were made up of former army buddies, and we're apparently going to be getting, based on how this trailer's going, I think we're going to get something similar because of where we're going to see a number of symbiote pieces being looked at and studied.
That'd be pretty cool if they busted out the Jury.
So I'm guessing they're going to take that because remember how Cletus Cassidy, Carnage escaped? I'm thinking somehow he's tied to that.
When you say Carnage escape, do you mean Toxin?
No, they could make it a Toxin escape at that point. But
I mean,
right
the
now,
Carnage symbiote got eaten.
no. But remember his break-in. Carnage went through the prison, so it may not have been a breakout, but yeah, the prison.
I understand.
The
I thought
massacre.
you meant at the end of the movie. I thought you. Okay, yes, I understand what you're saying now. Yes, yes.
Now, our lovely Ted Lasso alumni. I have another theory of where she's going. We'll get to that later.
Okay. Juno Temple, for the record.
Juno Temple. So so these symbiotes right here, we're getting more symbiote pieces being put to people. All right, so he's at the bar, and he's getting ready to reach out to the symbiote, and that's when, we see Ejiofor's character drop the test tube on it and take it away.
And it looks like the same bar, and he's wearing the same shirt.
He's wearing the same shirt, but he's looking more disheveled, and he looks to be a patron rather than the bartender.
He is on the patron side, sure. I mean, I guess I would say not unheard of for him to just go around and sit by him. But who knows? Maybe the symbiote goes on top of him, and he ends up porting back to the Venom universe. Is that what you're thinking?
I'm thinking something has happened to him, because, again, I'm not saying... There shouldn't be a lot of time has passed because the symbiote's like hanging out still at the bar. The bartender did not look that disheveled when he teleported out.
No, not
now,
at all.
Again, if we're playing Multiverse at this point, and this is the flip side of it, he may not be the bartender this time. He may be a patron. To your point, could he have already had a stint with this symbiote, and just that's why he looks so disheveled? Because remember, symbiotes necessarily are the way Eddie has latched onto the Venom symbiote. They found some kind of common understanding and not necessarily milking him for his total life force. But the wrong person, they'll kill him within days, if not hours.
Right. It'll actually drain the host if they can't form that like perfect bond.
Mm-hmm. And so we're. That would explain why he's looking disheveled. They could be trying to say that the Venom symbiote was only left behind in this universe, not 616. Now, if you go back to No Way Home, we don't see the symbiote on the bar on the wide shot. We only see the symbiote in the close-up. So that were Sony trying to find a loophole and saying, oh, no, that symbiote was left behind in this universe, which still doesn't make any sense. But remember, Sony lies to us. They had the Oscorp and the Spider-Man Murderer poster at that point. It's still, that end credit scene in No Way Home still ticks me off.
We're giving it... See, I was fine with it as is, but if, a piece of symbiotes in the Marvel Cinematic Universe at this point.
Yes.
But if it all goes back, no. I will say this, you're right. We don't see the wide shot. We just see it on the zoom in, on the close-up. But... what we see in the wide shot is our bartender start to pick up the glass, and in the close-up, we see the glass pulled back.
Fair.
So it is still... at the time No Way Home came out, that was all intended to be MCU on that same thing. Mm-hmm. This now makes me wonder if those rumors about the symbiote being in the next Tom Holland Spider-Man movie are not true, and Sony's just going to roll its own way. Or I don't know. Like we've probably already spent too much time speculating on what basically amounts to a Fox X-Men level of continuity, but it's the first thing I noticed like that really made me pause of like why like I hate the phrase took me out of it, but it's like it almost derailed my first watching of this because my brain was focused so much on this part.
Well, last thing I'll say about this is where we can still have that symbiote piece left behind in 616. He also could have left behind a piece at the bar, here as well.
Sure, he just spreading his seed everywhere.
So, and not jumping to conclusions, not going totally like, oh, screw Sony at that point. I said, that is my real headcanon of this. He also left a piece of himself behind here because Venom does spawn other spawns,
He's had several kids, for lack of a better term.
Exactly. So this is not maybe negating No Way Home, but not necessarily. Well, they did this for a reason, and it started a conversation, and not in a good way for Sony, but they don't care. So. All right. So let's talk about our lovely scientist here. So we have no names necessarily yet, as you said, but with these other symbiotes, I think Juno Temple is going to be playing a character named Patricia Robertson. Do you know who Patricia Robertson is in comics?
Tell me.
She is Scream.
Oh, okay. Well, that's interesting.
Yeah, so she is probably going to turn into Scream later on in this movie, which will be visually very cool. And we got a recent interpretation of Scream in a thing you and I have both played.
We did. MJ played Scream in Spider-Man. For what it's worth, the moviedatabase.org, the moviedb.org, which is another movie IMDb type thing, lists Juno Temple as Dr. Payne.
Okay.
Payne. But those names, one, I don't know where this information comes from, and two, it could be placeholders.
Yeah, could be very much placeholders, but that's at least my idea at that point. In the comics, Patricia Robertson is a communication specialist in the Army that worked at a radar station in Canada. Coming to a lab that was littered with dead bodies, it was revealed that the location had been studying a Venom clone. This escaped, and after killing the scientist, it stowed away on her, eventually bonded with her, turning into the symbiote character, Scream, having a powerful scream, hence the name, and also be able to use her hair as a whip. So I'm excited to see Scream in live action. I think it's a cool character. It's definitely one that's always constantly been always there in the 616 universe.
Yeah. And visually, it's just a cool design for a symbiote.
Yep. Let's see. Gotta love these shots that you think are all in the same moment, and they're probably not. Then we get them army base guys going after Venom, drop into the water. It's kind of interesting. They're really hyping up this idea that Venom's powerful, but not as powerful as I think he should be.
Yeah, it seems like if he's in the water, he should be able to just grow some fins or something and swim way faster.
So now we're in Vegas. He's changing into a suit, and we see Mrs. Chen because, God forbid, we can't have a movie with a Mrs. Chen in this whole dancing sequence.
Looks awkward. Looks weird.
Yeah,
we'll see how it is.
The movie knows what it is, and I'm gonna have to accept the movie for what it is by this point. All right, yeah, we get Well, before we get to this, we get our first look at our former police department officer, detective. So we're going to see Stephen Graham really take off. I want to see what he's going to look like as Toxin, because Toxin in the comics, he's interesting. He first appeared in Venom vs. Carnage #1 in 2004. He is known as the 1000th symbiote in the lineage. He packs all the power and all the memories, but he's extremely powerful. He's been able to stand toe-to-toe with Carnage. Now, where it's a little bit different is that he's really, truly like Venom in the sense of an antagonist anti-hero, because he has worked alongside of Spider-Man. And he has also worked with Venom as well. So he's definitely an anti-hero. And Toxin's goal, maybe in this movie, is that to destroy all the monsters, which includes Venom.
Right. Right.
So let's kind of continue on with this. Oh, that's an interesting person right here.
Yes. Allegedly Peter Parker.
No.
Isn't that
This
our
guy.
young boy?
No.
Oh, I thought you meant the kid.
No, I'm not talking about the kid.
Okay, go ahead.
Our kind of bongo looking drum or hippie guy looking there.
Yeah.
You know, have you not heard who he is?
Okay, who?
I can't remember the actor's name off the top of my head. He played Lizard in the Amazing Spider-Man. That's him.
Oh, Rufus Elfon?
Yeah.
Something like that?
Yep.
Yeah, well, I knew he was in this, yeah.
Yep,
But
that's him.
and we presume not as the Lizard. But is that the young boy that's supposed to be allegedly Peter Parker?
I'm not. I guess that's what they're holding on to because you see a young person, they see these rumors going around that Venom's going to be protecting a 10-year-old Peter. At that point, you know.
Yeah, I don't like that.
It almost sounds like when they're talking about this, saying, "Wait a minute, remember the old rumors? What we heard about what Madam Web was supposed to be, kind of like a Terminator kind of thing." At that point, It almost sounds like Madam Web turned in the script later, and they already had the Venom 3 script, and they were like, "No, you can't do that. We're gonna go with Venom 3 with this," and that's where we ended up getting with Madam Web.
Maybe. I don't know. The thought of Venom meeting a young Peter, that's just weird to me.
Now,
But their entire relationship is out the window in these movies anyway, so it really shouldn't bother me.
yeah, Reese Ifans, where we last saw him in No Way Home as the Lizard. I'm not saying he's playing the Lizard here, but it's interesting because usually when the Lizard transforms back, like in Amazing Spider-Man, he loses his arm again. However, at the end of No Way Home, he still had both arms.
I don't think this is. I mean,
I don't
the
think so
implication
either.
would be that the Venom world is the Garfield world, and I know some people like Snell would absolutely hate that. I'm actually okay with that idea just because I actually think visually they would fit. Tonally, not so much, but visually, I think they would work well together. I don't think though I don't think they're doing that.
I don't think so either, but it's just rather interesting that he got called back to do this, and it's probably not a big part in any stretch of the imagination.
No. No.
Okay, so now we're getting our looks at probably the his homeworld, the Clintars coming down. So, are we going to see Null in this movie?
I think he'll be hinted at the very least. I mean, technically, we've already seen hints, but I mean, I don't know if we're gonna have like a big third act battle, Venom versus Null, but I feel like there will be something about Null somewhere in this movie.
Yeah. So, what do you think of our first look at what I'm assuming are the Clintar?
I mean, they just look like symbiote monsters. It's fine.
Yeah, it'll work. Venom definitely is certainly scared of him.
He is. I mean, he seems to be scared of all the other symbiotes he meets. So.
Yeah. There's that. There we go. There we got that kid again. Let's see. Can we? All right. We got Aunt May. We got or May. I don't know. What do you think?
Richard and Mary, or not Richard and Mary. Yeah. Mary and May Parker, maybe.
Yeah. Who knows?
It's not my preference. I'll go.
No, not my preference either.
I'd almost rather that be Dylan, Eddie's son Dylan from the comics.
True. Yeah, that would work too. So they're hinting at we're not going to make it out of this one. So, yeah, Venom. Last answer. Probably going to get one more trailer. I do like this one though. How
best scene of the trailer? Right.
Yeah.
Here.
How fast can you go without killing the horse? So we get a Venom horse.
And the Venom horse does look cool.
It does.
Why Venom doesn't just have Eddie strapped to the back of that horse, I don't know. But it does look cool.
Yeah. I accept this movie franchise by this point for what it is. It's not the Venom I wanted. It's not the kind of storyline I wanted. I'm glad Tom Hardy has had a good time with this. He has definitely made Venom this character. I'm still on the train that we are going to get him in the MCU in Secret Wars, because we all want that sequence of at least Tom Holland facing him at one point, even though this is not the Venom we want him to face.
I would love to see the more comic accurate Venom design
Fair,
though,
yeah.
with the white spider, like the
Fair.
shirt that you're wearing right
Mhm.
now. Like I would love to see that at some point. And if it's not going to be this Venom, fine. A future incarnation of Eddie Brock, I guess.
And I'll tell you right now, like I've told you before, like I'm not a fan of at post Donny Cates Venom right now. It's definitely not
It's
great.
trippy. I'm reading it, and it's. I mean,
It's not
I
my
think
it's not my tempo. I will say this. It is not my tempo.
I end up saving a few issues of it at a time, reading through them, and it is not the easiest to follow of
Yes,
what's going on.
I agree.
It is really weird, and I'm really hoping that the next Venom writer brings him back down to like basically pulls like a Daredevil and brings it back down to like the street level for a while.
And I like Rom V. I really do. I just Rom V and Rom V with this is just not my Rom V that I don't think this is his in my opinion, it's not the type of writing I like him doing.
I do. I there is something about it. I do. Oh, I can't say I don't like it. I like it, but it's weird. And I am when it's done, when that story is done, I am ready for something radically different. I'll just say that. But I'm not at the point where I'm like, oh, I wish it was done today.
Yeah, they are gearing up for a big event called Venom War. I know that's what they're leading towards. So.
Well, I will read all of it when it hits Unlimited.
Exactly. So, all right. So that's our trailer breakdown. So we're going to take our first ad break before we get into the news items. So listeners, these ads help keep the lights on in the Geek Ultimate Alliance Network. We don't get to choose what ads come on, and they could be a bit loud. So give it a 3 count before they come on. 3, 2, 1. We'll be right back. And we are back. All right. So news that hit earlier this week. With Deadpool and Wolverine set to save the summer, Shawn Levy tops the list to direct Marvel's next Avengers movie? Question mark. You know, it's kind of like, I'm Ron Burgundy. This is coming as exclusive from Deadlines. They said, we're looking at Deadpool and Wolverine tracking huge for a July 26th release. There is words coming out of, scoopers out of Marvel Studios from Deadline saying that Shawn Levy is looked as the top choice in early conversation to direct the next Avengers movie. And as we know that Daniel Destin had dropped out, has dropped out of being the lead director for this. So this would be what is may or may be the Kang Dynasty. We don't know.
Yeah, it's the Avengers 5.
Yeah, Avengers 5. So they hear that Levy's been given the latest script by Michael Waldron. Those sources add that he has not given an answer on whether he will take the job, and the studio is still planning to meet with other directors while they wait for a decision from him. Deadline says we can't say for sure that Levy will take the job. He expects to be heavily involved as a director and executive producer of the final season of Netflix's signature series, Stranger Things, and there is also a Star Wars film in his future. Still, the prospect of Levy steering the next Avengers makes it a very good move for Kevin Feige and kind of keeping the ship righted at that point. Even though with no director coming in, Marvel has been working hard in recent months to pull together a shooting schedule for these last 2 Avengers projects to kind of close out what will become Phase 6. So, Shawn Levy, you and I are both big fans even before he was put on Venom with the number of projects he has involved in. I am not a Stranger Things fan. I'm not a disliker of it. I got through 1 season. Second season didn't float my boat, so I've moved on from it. But I
haven't seen it at all.
Yep, the Adam Project was outstanding. Free Guy was outstanding. From all indications, Deadpool and Wolverine is going to be great. He knows how to work with, Ryan Reynolds, him and him seem to be in sync at that point. This is, and I don't mean this as a bad phrase, this is a good, safe choice if it ends up being Shawn Levy. This is what, if they want to inspire, if you're going to lose Daniel Cretton, then yes, this would be a good follow-up.
And I'll say this, if you're worried that basically he's just going to do Ryan Reynolds type humor, because Ryan Reynolds is obviously in Free Guy, which I loved, and in The Adam Project, which was great, and in Deadpool and Wolverine, check out on Netflix All the Light We Cannot See. It's 4-episode miniseries about a blind French girl in World War II. Mm-hmm. And Shawn Levy directed all 4 episodes. It is nothing humorous. I'm not saying there's zero humor in it, but basically the humor is few and far between, and it is a very dramatic, serious story, and it is radically different from what he did in Free Guy and Adam Project, etc.
And these were some of his other things. His director credits include Night at the Museum films, The Pink Panther, Big Fat Liar, Date Night, Real Steel.
He 1 episode of the Birds of Prey series from the early 2000s. I was scrolling through his IMDb earlier,
wow.
and I found that's sold right there.
Ooh.
No, really.
We all gotta cut our teeth on something, right?
Unless Deadpool and Wolverine is a massive, massive bomb, the way Madam Web was, and every meaning of the word, I think this is a great pick. I love the idea, and it probably the name I like the best that I've heard since Cretton left the project.
Yeah, it is. We've heard a lot of scoopers, and Scooper Madness is going to be like Scooper Madness. The rumors are like it's going to be a more quote unquote. It's become such a dirty word now in our circles, like a more grounded Avengers movie, as if you could get a grounded Avengers movie. Just in
I mean, you sure, I guess you can, but people are like, oh, it's grounded, so it's bad. Like they don't want it's all dependent on the story, right? Like we're all calling for a grounded Spider-Man story. But everyone wants a grounded Batman story, even though that's all we ever get. But you can do a grounded event. Now, can you do a grounded Avengers movie with 60 different characters? I don't know.
That's the most clickbait. One of the most clickbaity things Deadline's put in.
It also doesn't matter. Go through and count how many were in Avengers Endgame. I bet you there's more than 60 speaking parts in that movie too.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, I don't even read into that. It's just like what I put as one of my predictions that I'm still holding true to. By the end of this year, we are still going to have no clue who the Avengers are. We have no idea, and we're already planning an Avengers project for a team we don't even know who's on it.
Yeah, I mean, and I know there's been, again, rumors of that, but I don't even care. Like, to me, like, the aspects of this that are the most important are Shawn Levy might direct the next Avengers movie. That we can pretty concrete say, not that it's happening, but that the talks are happening. And what I read said it was offered to him. It wasn't going to work with the schedule, but now schedules have kind of changed, and now it might work. And so they're waiting to see if he wants to do it. In the meantime, they're talking to other directors because they're still doing their due diligence in case Levy doesn't do it. But right now, with what we know, I'm hoping Shawn Levy ends up being director of the next Avengers.
Because again, we will see exactly that point. Like, he will also have probably some sort of say with Secret Wars as well, because we saw.
I like that idea.
We
Deadpool,
saw that
Wolverine, and then this.
But we saw that happen with Endgame too. Yes, the Russos weren't directors in name, but James Gunn also had a little bit of say. Jon Favreau had a little bit of say. Like all the people who were big builders of the first 10 years, they had some sort of say in the final product. And I'm okay with that. And people say, oh, that's a lot. That sounds like directed by Reddit. No, not necessarily. I just like that people who have positively contributed to the franchise, I'm okay with them having some sort of fingerprints on it.
Right. Like, so like the best example is James Gunn and the Guardians. He got to pass at the dialogue, make sure it sounded right. Like that kind
Those
of
are
stuff
his
is
characters.
Fine. Yeah.
So
I like the idea. This story excited me.
Yep, this brings a lot of confidence in the project, and losing a great director before, but this is a good pivot in the sense of fine, we can weather that one. So all right, let's head to what's happening this week with Captain America: Brave New World. So this broke literally last Friday. We had heard. The official word came from Giancarlo Esposito, and I will be the one person who, every time I hear a person say Esposito, it is not Esposito, it is Esposito. The only reason I know that for sure is I will plug WTF with Mark Maron. He was on I think a year or two ago, and they had a whole thing about like, how do you pronounce the last name? And this is directly coming from the man, Esposito. So that is how you pronounce it, not Esposito. So he had come out and said that he is in a Marvel project. He is playing a new character that he's going to be having a part in a movie that would lead into a series. At the time, we didn't know what that was. Now we do. It is Captain America: Brave New World. So,
And yet we've seen set photos of him. We've seen set photos of a stunt double, and nobody knows who he's playing.
yep, he said like the MCU has knocked on my door. It's a role you won't predict. It'll be teased, and it'll be a series afterwards. That is via Legion of Sand. So the Hollywood Reporter article breaks down what else has been going on with Brave New World. The reshoots are lasting 22 days. According to insiders, among the added elements will be some new action sequences. Julius Ona still remains the director. There was some weird scuttlebutt about that, and I was kind of like saying, really? They were thinking he's been removed? No, I never heard that until I saw some scuttlebutt around this article. Brave New World has been operating under a lot of hazy shrouds since it wrapped principal photography in spring 2023. Like, they literally wrapped principal photography a day or two before the strike. Because I remember I had friends that were on the streets when they were doing the final principal photography in Washington, D.C.
Mm-hmm.
The movie, which stars Anthony Mackie as Sam Wilson taking up the mantle of Captain America, barely escaped the impacts of the writers and actors strikes. Even though it managed to wrap principal photography, Brave New World's post-production was hampered and delayed as the actors' strike ended in November. Marvel moved Brave New World to July 26, 2024 to February 14th of 2025, which gave the execs time to look at what they had, and a lot of ideas are, a lot of word from what we're hearing from insiders is that they were not happy with a lot of different aspects of how principal photography looked. Despite rumors of multiple reshoots of the movie, so far, right now, this is the only one. It is, like I said, the rumors were 22 days. It does not appear to be extensive like the ones that faced Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, which lasted 6 weeks, nor as expensive and extensive reshoots as the Marvels did. In fact, one insider says Brave New World will cost significantly less than the Marvels overall, which it should. There's no reason why the Marvels should have cost that much as it did. But I like the idea. Kevin Feige said at CinemaCon that this movie will have no aliens, no alien invasions, no time travel before showing off some footage, saying it is also, here we go again, a relatively grounded action film. The thing about Captain America that really got established with Winter Soldier is that this is a kind of espionage, political kind of thriller franchise. This is what they were kind of building. Everyone's going to have their own little niche when it comes to genres in the MCU. And I like the idea of Captain America kind of being that political stuff, Civil War, not as, what Winter Soldier was, but still the elements are there. And I like how the elements are there. You're going to get fantastical. We are all expecting Thunderbolt Ross to turn into a big red Hulk at some point.
Yeah, we are. That's going to be awesome.
I also want to say, get off my plane and Hulk. Come on. We all want to hear it.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome.
But with this movie, we're hearing stuff like whole groups are now, whole actors and actresses are removed. Like the Serpent Society may not necessarily be as prevalent as it once was. We do know that, spoilers, 3, 2, 1, the character of Diamondback is still been seen on set, so her part looks like it's remained intact. Now, Giancarlo Esposito, you and I and Travis and some people in our GOA chat have kind of gone back and forth of who this could possibly be. I think you and I kind of have landed on who we think is plausible just based on what little we see of the set photos at this point. Brent, why don't you kind of go into who we think we're going to be?
Bushman is the character that we are both kind of looking at, who is basically a Moon Knight villain. And so if Esposito's character is supposed to have an appearance in Brave New World, and then one of the comments was basically lead a series, well, Bushman would sort of fit that role because, well, I don't see who he's gonna I don't see him being like the true series lead. I do see him being the antagonist, the villain lead. And so, from that standpoint, I think it could work. And it seems to be a pretty open secret that Moon Knight Season 2 is happening at this point. So, if that were the case, it all kind of fits. I know so many people were like, oh, Henry Gyrick, it looks like Henry Gyrick. What Disney Plus show is Henry Gyrick likely to lead? Like, that's the thing. Or likely to be one of the leaders of.
That would be a very, based on the set photos we have seen, that would be the most... that would be the most mercenary-looking Henry Gyrick I had ever seen.
And don't get me wrong, if he was Henry Gyrick, I would say, cool, that's awesome. I like it. It's just, I just don't think it fits. Like, I don't think it fits.
Not with the current MCU where we're at.
Yeah, and with what we were told, no. I personally want a Henry Gyrick to come in when he can be going after the mutants, and there's not a lot of mutants for him to go after at this point. So it just doesn't seem like that's the case.
And I think what worries me about this project, I'm looking forward to it. When I say worry, it's everything that I've either heard, either privately or what we've talked about on this show. What worries me is about a lot of juggling going on in this movie. There's a lot. I mean, there's moving parts and everything, but thinking about like who the Serpent Society, whether to what extent they are. Now we've got a new villain that originally wasn't there, now is.
Of course, for all we know, that could be one scene.
Could be one scene at that point, but it sounded significant enough that they added this person that wasn't there to begin with, whoever this character is. Plot beats, things like that. Reshoots are reshoots. I'm not saying reshoots are a bad thing. I don't think they ever are. But I'm hoping with the reshoots, new script pages being written, we're tightening up this whole idea of what was originally looking to me to think, man, I don't know how they're going to bring this together. And I'm worried about this whole last couple of projects with being like around 2 hours. I was like, can we put it back to 2.5 hours? Because we haven't been able to tell a really good story in 2 hours lately.
We'll find out. I mean, yeah. I was fine with the Marvels that had a shorter runtime. Sure, it could have used a couple more minutes, but it's all right. I don't know. 2.5 hour movies, I feel like a lot of people are... It's weird. I feel like a lot of the GA don't want movies that long. But
fair, and I'm not saying a good movie is determined by 2.5 hours. I'm just now feeling that we're rushing through things just to get extra seats in there. And I get what you're saying. 2.5 hours does that, but it's just like, I want a good story. Please tell a good story. And if you can tell it in 2 hours, please. It'd be the first one I've seen in a while told in a Marvel project. A good story. We just don't want
it to be nothing but set up for future projects where Sam doesn't get his own story. Like that to me would be. So as long as I don't care how many future projects they set up, as long as I come out of that movie still willing to call it a Captain America movie. That's the most important thing.
This could be kind of what I know we're saying we're not looking for a big setup movie, but the way this movie is going because the way we're looking at this movie, what we've talked about, this could be your Civil War in the sense of how you talked about Civil War, of how many things this led to.
Yeah, Civil War.
This one movie.
Arguably the most important movie of the Infinity Saga that doesn't have Avengers in the title, based on the number of events and things that spin directly out of it. Yes, this could potentially mirror that. But like Civil War, I will still argue it's a Captain America movie. It's just like Captain America comic books will have the Avengers guest star. As long as this still feels like Sam's movie, then I'm fine with all these other characters.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we'll just have to see. It's our first kind of word at that point, but I will be cautiously optimistic at this point. I want this to be good. I want our first major motion picture with Sam Wilson taking on Captain America's shield. I want this to be a great outing. I want people to say, man, what an awesome person to take over the shield, for those that didn't see Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Yeah. So, but all right, so that is all the news that is fit to print. So we're going to take our final ad break before we get into listener feedback, Factor Fiction, and Comic Book Club. So listeners, as you know, these ads help keep the lights on in the Geek Ultimate Alliance Network. We don't get to choose what ads come on, and they can be a bit loud. Give that 3 count before they come on. 3, 2, 1. We'll be right back. And we are back. So, as always, Brent, you put out the Spidey signal. Got some questions. What you got?
Oh, let's start with Birth. The DJ wants to know, is it too late now for a Vision show with the Vision show not announcement, but from the trades. I get the question because WandaVision started in January of 2021, so would have ended in February of that year. So we're well over 3 years at this point. Coming up on 3.5 years since we last saw Vision. Is it too late when this show isn't going to be still for another while? I think it's a fair question. I don't think it's too late. I think people are going to be happy to go back to seeing a project centered around one of the Infinity Saga stars.
Yeah, it's one of those where like you said, I understand why, but we also have to look at it through the lens of if we didn't have this many projects preceding it due to the former leadership, we might have gotten it sooner. And so with this idea in mind, I want to know what's going on with Vision. I don't like a lot of these that's one of the characters I don't like not knowing what's going on. I want to know where are they at? What have they been doing? Let's kind of bring them back into the fold. So I don't think it's too late. It's unfortunate. I will say it's unfortunate it's taken this long. But if we get a good series out of it, that's going to bring back the character into the good graces of the MCU. Yeah, I'm here for it.
All right. From Anthony, do you think the Silk show is completely dead, or is there a shot at another streamer or studio picking it up? I don't think there's a shot of another studio. I mean, that's all Sony, and they're not going to just let someone else pick it up. I don't know. Like, it could go to another streamer. I wouldn't say no to that. But they were trying to work with Amazon, so right now I think
what Amazon was doing.
No, right now I think it's dead on the infinite timescales. Another podcast I listen to refers to. Eventually, sure, it's possible, but in the foreseeable future, I think it's dead.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think this is dead. I think the Spider-Woman project with Olivia Wilde is dead. The only thing that right now seems to have life and decent legs is Spider-Man Noir, and I think it's because you have Spider-Man in the title.
Yeah, and Nicolas Cage is the star. Like there,
and I'm not trying to be sexist. I'm not trying to be chauvinistic. I'm just stating what's out there, and the facts are that they're looking at the numbers and they get more brand recognition of that, and they are not ready. And the way they were turning in Silk, yeah, I don't want that Silk project if that's what they're going to do to it. I don't. I think that character, and call me a fanboy, and I think that character has a lot more meaning and deserves a lot better than what they were going to turn it into, which was a joke. So I want it, but I don't want what they're about to do with it.
All right, next up from a Fifth of Jack. This is a fun idea. What do you think of this idea for the X-Men, where they have the original X-Men squad in the first movie, and then leave it on a cliffhanger, where in the second movie, you get the second squad to rescue the original squad, and then establish who will be your movie squad going forward from there. So
you're kind of talking about a giant-sized X-Men
sequel, yeah, but as the second X-Men movie. I realistically,
That's
I don't.
Fascinating.
I love the idea, and as someone who likes the characters, I think it'd be great. As I don't necessarily see it for the GA, just because it's like they would get introduced to this group of characters, and now they're going to get introduced to that group of characters. They're going to want to see some carryover there, but you know what? Screw those people. Do it. It's a fun idea.
It is a fun idea. I like it in the sense of let's get 2 movies out of the originals, have them disappear. Third movie, bring in the node, and then see how this idea of the teams break up. So, or get together or meld at that point. So I do like the premise of it. I think, and it's in just doing one movie and then get another movie. The audience needs to start understanding who some of these characters are. So let's fall in love with the first group for 2 movies, and then bring in the new group in the third one.
And then he also says, if you got to pick one of the characters to just make it into the movie, who would you pick? Like, what's one of the characters you really want to make it?
Okay, we got to take Wolverine out of it. Just take it out.
It's not my choice anyway, so that's fine.
Yeah, that's that.
I mean, I like Wolverine, but that's just, I would pick Nightcrawler. I absolutely would want to see Nightcrawler and what they would do with that. In his costume, for the record. I want the bloody costume.
I want Thunderbird.
Ooh, I like that idea.
I want Thunderbird to be done right. I want that character to get some recognition. I like it. So, yeah.
Works for me. From Amari Daniels, with how much Blade has been delayed and no official word on when we'll see Dane Whitman again, would you prefer
Who?
if
Who?
yeah, would you prefer if we just got a Midnight Suns film instead of a Blade movie? We already have some potential members from the Werewolf by Night special anyway. So at this point, scrap the Blade solo movie, just do Midnight Suns. Maybe Blade could be included. What do you think about that?
I'm of two minds with that one. I part of me is like saying, yeah, scrap it, let's get Midnight Suns. But the other thing was, I'm even though I joke with Travis in our group chat that's saying that this is the new hashtag fake movie that we've got going on. I think I still am holding out hope for Blade. I mean, I'm jokingly saying fake movie. I'm still saying that the Blade video game still comes out before this movie ever sees the light of day. But I do want a Blade movie to come out before. However, I think, Omar, you do raise a good point that you could do a Midnight Suns project and bring in Blade to that and not necessarily have a solo movie till possibly after that movie. So I will say I'm about 55% behind you on this one.
The thing about the Blade movie that it would bother me more if this was a movie that like the Marvel Studios Parliament said we want to do this movie. It's in our agenda, but it's not. It's one that Mahershala Ali took to them and said, "Hey, I'd like to make a movie with you guys, and I want to do." And like, yes, I would still like to see this movie. You have a fantastic actor, you have a really cool character, and who doesn't like to watch a bunch of vampires get dusted? Sure, I'd like to see the movie. But it would bother me more if this was one of the projects that they were like, no, we want this in our next saga, like ahead of time. Does that make sense?
No, it
like
makes sense.
That said, I mean, all Snell's fake movie jokes aside about Armor Wars, this is the fake movie. I think. I don't know. We'll find out. Who knows? We'll find out soon enough.
And like Omari said, you know, the reason this started really picking up is because Mahershala Ali has supposedly signed on to become one of the leads in the new Jurassic Park movies trilogy, or at least the next film. Let's just call it that. And so it's saying, oh, well, when's he doing Blade? Well, we're going through script rewrite after script. And I just feel bad. I feel awful in the sense of like this. He has passion for this and it keeps on getting, it's like the Blade movie has become Charlie Brown and Lucy with the football. Every time we think we're getting it, Lucy's taking the ball away and we're not getting it yet. You know, it's unfortunate.
Yeah. And well, I actually have a Blade related fact or fiction.
Oh,
so
okay.
We'll save.
Well, let's transition over to fact or fiction. So let me pull up the results from technically 2 weeks ago, and here we go. All right, fact or fiction number one. Another member of the Defenders will appear in Daredevil Born Again. 73% said fact, 27% said fiction. Number two, in Daredevil Born Again, we will see a major character from the original Netflix cast be killed. 67% said fact, 33% said fiction. Every one of us is truly awful with that. Taylor Swift will not play Dazzler in Deadpool and Wolverine. 86% said fact, 14% said fiction. Definitely no Swifties involved with that. And then number four, from Anthony's submission, Wanda will be in the Vision series. 82% said fact, 18% said fiction. I'm surprised it wasn't even higher.
Okay. Let's see. My turn this week. We're going to start off with. I'm going to start off with what I'm hoping is a slam dunk easy one. Eli Bradley will appear in Captain America: Brave New World.
So, the grandson.
Mm-hmm. Patriot.
Well, Scooper Madness being Scooper Madness with this Young Avengers keeps on trying to be a thing at that point. That's a discussion for another day. I could see him being in the supposed sequence that was shown off at CinemaCon. I think there's a possibility of him being there. So I will say 55% fact. That's where I'm at. 55% fact. Not necessary, not needed, but I could see it being worked in.
I think it's a fact. I feel like they want to get another appearance for him so they can use him going forward with the team that Ms. Marvel's putting together.
Yeah, there was an idea, right?
There was an idea. All right, next up, Giancarlo Esposito will be featured in a Brave New World post-credit scene teasing his upcoming Disney Plus appearance.
That's more of a slam dunk than your other one. Is that your
I don't know if it is. I don't know
okay.
that Eli Bradley is. I don't know if it is because his character appearing in the main movie could be the tease. Like, it would not be unheard of.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to say fiction on this one just because I think that I'll stick with it. I think this was one of my factor fictions. I don't even know when I did this, or I'm having a Mandela effect where I'm still convinced at the end of Brave New World we're going to start getting our recruitment for our new Avengers. So,
okay.
So I'll say fiction.
All right.
What about you?
I am a fact on it. I think it is going to happen. It'll be... If it does, it'll be the first credit scene because the second one will be some stupid joke. But
involving ants.
Playing the drums. Okay, third one. My third one, and then we do have one from Anthony as well.
Okay.
Mahershala Ali will not portray Blade in the MCU besides his voice in Eternals.
God, you're going after my heart.
I know. Going after Snell's heart, too. He's not going to like this one.
Come to me a week from now, I'll probably change my mind, but right now I'm going to say, unfortunately, it's a fact. He will not. That's
pretty much it. The heart doesn't want it.
The heart doesn't want it, but...
as we said, we'd like to see it, but I'm a fact as well. I just, there's been so many problems, and he's not getting any younger. I don't think it's going to happen at this point. I hope I'm wrong. I'd love it if I was wrong.
Which will be probably one of the, definitely the... God, what did we had it at that point, and maybe that's why you don't see anyone but him doing this in the sense of coming to Marvel Studios. I want to do this and got because no one else has done that. There's been not one thing, and we see that the one time it's been done, it has yet gotten off the ground.
Yep.
Not his fault. Not his fault.
No, for whatever reason, they can't figure it out, and I don't understand why. It's vampires, a daywalker. Fight like what it doesn't need to be some super deep story. Like it just doesn't need it. Like
but again, when you have a long history of Blade in the comics, it's just like you have things you can base it off of. What's so hard?
Yeah, just pick one of those stories
and adapt it. You can change it. I don't need a page to screen. I never do, but gosh darn it, come on. I mean here's the thing. Blade is a big part. I'm not going to say how big. It is a huge significant part of the new event going on right now in Marvel Comics called Blood Hunt. He is a huge part of this, so they're not forgetting about Blade in the comics. So,
I mean, with a name like Blood Hunt, no, I haven't read it. I would hope he is part of it.
You'll see in a couple of months how much of a part of it he is.
What is this, a miniseries called Blood Hunt, or is it like Avengers Blood Hunt?
It is their summer. It is their summer.
The summer event. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, I'll probably check it out then here in a few months.
Yep.
Okay. From Anthony, similar to the Life Death episodes, there will be at least one or two half episodes in X-Men '97 season 2, solely following an X team made up of the available mutants from Forge's roster.
Yeah. I'd say yes.
I think that's a slam dunk. Like
I
don't even think it'd be half episode. I could see entire episodes following them. So,
I'm looking forward to see who we're gonna see. I think it's proven because we got to know what's happening on Earth. We can't just always focus on where the groups are.
Yeah, because we're gonna follow presumably Bishop and Forge. I want Havoc. I want Havoc on that team.
Shadowcat's going to be on that
costume.
team. We're gonna bring in Generation X with Dust on that team. We saw that board.
Was Shadowcat ever in the original series?
Nope.
I mean, she's obviously in the wonderful Pride of the X-Men, but
she is with Australian Wolverine.
But I'm not joking. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. It's on YouTube.
No, it's great. It's a
shame
product of its time.
It's a shame it didn't get picked up for more episodes, but yeah, I'm a fact on this one, Anthony. I think it'll happen.
Yeah, that's a good one. And just because it's slam dunk, we're not saying it's a bad factor for you. It's just like, yes, we're on board. Sign me up. So
Absolutely.
all right, so I will post those in on Sunday afternoon, so let your voices be heard. All right, Brent, we delayed it a week, so let us get back into Deadpool kills the Marvel Universe again, number 2. So, getting into the second issue of this, it has. I find it's interesting what they're doing with this one because again, it's just like, oh, are we just gonna rehash like everything again? And not really. I like the idea of Deadpool being brainwashed.
It's radically different than the first series. Mm-hmm. It is like other than it's Deadpool killing everybody. That's where the similarities in. And this one, well, it starts off with our effectively street level team that doesn't have much of a chance against Deadpool at this point. Outside maybe Cable, but they're investigating whatever. But the next page is a Venom symbiote infused Deadpool taking on Spider-Man. And while it ended very gruesomely, this was a cool sequence.
It was a cool sequence, and just the image of this Venom is just like, not a fan of the drawing, but it is interesting in the sense if it didn't take on any kind of form, it just turns into a big old monster.
Yeah, it actually kind of reminds me of the movie. Like,
yeah.
It's just a big blob of black monster, and there's no spider logo on it or anything like that. And then we get the weird little inside his mind trippy thing where Deadpool and Spider-Man are in a fruit pie eating contest. Which, by the way, Spider-Man's spider logo in this sequence does look really weird. Like it's oddly proportioned. But they win this eating contest, so when he snaps out of it, it's Venom eating Spider-Man's head and brains.
Yep, it is.
I'm not gonna lie, I laughed.
It's one of the, at last it's done. Spider-Man is dead. My hunger sedated, and it just slinks away. And he thinks about using a one of the other many air horns. It does it. No, go on, get out. We were friends. Get out of here. And I think he's referring to he was friends with Spider-Man.
That's how I took it as well. Yeah.
I think what's even more just. This was kind of I felt when reading this next sequence like his whole thing in his mind and then killing Jessica Drew at that point. It's like, oh, that was unsettling.
Yes, it was right in front of Jessica's kid.
Yeah,
and while he's dreaming in his mind that he's gonna just the babysitter, and just the two swords right through the gut of Jessica Drew. Oh my gosh.
I must have missed the whole thing that her and Porcupine were a thing.
I don't remember that, to be honest, but I'll go with it.
I'm sure there's some history that they didn't just pull it out of thin air on that one. I think there's some random history with that one, but that's definitely outside my my knowledge base. And Frank Castle be Frank Castle in the sense of, oh yeah, it's good. It'll grow up with a sense of reality already. And I'm with which is shut up, Castle. You say another word, I'll put you right through a wall.
Yep.
Gotta love Jessica Jones being Jessica Jones.
She could do it too.
This was also hurts my heart. We somehow end up in 2099 and
with zero explanation.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
but okay.
Yep, just blown my man Miguel O'Hara's brains out.
Yeah, he's gone.
I have no explanation. That was the most random sequence I had seen. And it just seems like, why, how, who, and poor Miles.
Yeah, this one is a very anti-Spider episode or issue.
Yes.
I keep saying episode.
But yeah, we get Miles is taken down in this whole kind of dream sequence that he thinks he's facing down Doppelganger and really just chops off Miles' head and. It's not a good time for spider people, and you get Doom. We get Flash to Doom and Red Skull talking, and I do like Doom calling out that Magneto's on his head and saying, "How is Magneto still on you? We know what you did."
Yeah. It's like he'll at some point Magneto's coming after you.
But we do see a spy because Cable did hint at having a person on the inside. And who is this person on the inside?
Gwenpool.
Yeah. Do you know much about Gwenpool?
Alternate universe, Gwen Stacy as Deadpool is my understanding. That's all I got.
That literally knows that she's in a comic book.
Ah, yes. Forgot about that part.
So, yes, Deadpool breaks the fourth wall. This one breaks the fourth wall and knows where they really are. They are in a comic book. So, yeah. So, I'm more fascinated by how we got to this point than it's just, he's killing the Marvel Universe, but it's this one was a rough one to read. So,
yeah, especially all those spiders biting it, or I guess it was Venom biting it, but you know what I mean.
Yep, there we go. So, but all right, we will head to issue number 3 next week, and but yeah, so volume 217 in the books. So we'll see what news drops next week, and but yeah, Brent, tell people how they can follow you.
Brentech Prime across the various social media sites. That's my handle on all of them.
Yep. You can follow me on Twitter at Chris Balga, my other show, World's Finest True Believers, at Finest Believers. You can follow this podcast on Twitter at Marvel A Podcast. You can email the show at marvelalliancepodcast@gmail.com. You can follow the Geek Ultimate Alliance Network on Twitter at GWAPod Network. Feel free to tweet, email if you want to provide feedback, ask questions. DMs are open across the board. Continue to rate and review this show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, wherever you get your podcasts. We greatly appreciate it. Thank y'all for listening. Thank y'all for joining us live in the chat. Stay safe out there, everyone. And as Stan the Man would say, Excelsior, true believers. All right, Brent, post-credits discussion tonight. For those of you who are new listeners, we try to keep Marvel podcast. We try to keep it post-credits, something Marvel in the news at that point. But sometimes we get a little cheeky with what we talk about, but always find a way to relate it back to Marvel. So, Brent, what are we talking about? And remind our listeners why we can talk about this.
The Acolyte?
The Acolyte, yes.
And Marvel publishes Star Wars. So, but,
there we are.
Of course, just super brief. Please listen to Star Wars Alliance for more detail.
Yeah, we're not going to be breaking down scene by scene and things like that. Clay does a good breakdown on Star Wars Alliance at that point, so make sure you check that out. We're just going to briefly give our first thoughts like we usually do with a Star Wars project that comes out on Disney+. So, high-level thoughts. Brent, what you got?
I liked it. I liked it. I was a little surprised. Like, there, without getting specific on it, there's a bit of a murder mystery to it. Mm-hmm. And I was a little surprised at who our victim was.
I was too.
Not what I anticipated.
Considering where the promotional stuff has been.
Right. But I really enjoyed it overall. And I'm very happy to watch the next 6 weeks, I think it is. Yeah, 8 episodes total, I think. And it's, without getting super specific, it was some fun Star Wars about some characters that I had never heard of before. Mm-hmm. And I believe, my understanding is some of them were in the books, the High Republic books, but to me, they're all completely brand new. And I really enjoyed it. It was also, I don't mind the Skywalker stuff, but it was kind of cool to see some Jedi stuff that was far removed from Skywalker.
Yeah, this is something that we, like you said, outside of the novels for the High Republic, I mean, this is supposed to be basically the tail end of the High Republic. And so the Sith in the High Republic, from what I understand, and this is stuff I've learned from our brethren at Katie and Clay over at Star Wars Alliance, and Travis and the guys over at Geekverse, the High Republic, their villains are not the Sith. The Sith are not there. It is pirates and things like that. So this is supposedly the very first encounter since the golden age of the Sith have returned at this point. So I like this kind of mystery that's building, a Jedi falling. This is what spurs it off, a Jedi being killed, supposedly by another Jedi. And so I like the idea of like how this goes about. What is this mystery? How does this lead towards this? Where is this new Sith master come about? Because a lot of times you get their fallen Jedi at that point. Not always, but a lot of times they are. So I'm very curious, not about what we are only getting hints towards versus the characters right now. I'm very intrigued by. I think Jedi Master Saul is kind of our kind of mix of Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan.
He definitely has Qui-Gon vibes to him.
Yeah. So, but I like this mystery about like what were they involved in? Why are these Jedi being killed? Who is doing this? What is the plan? It's good. The first two episodes are okay in my book. It wasn't the best thing of Star Wars I've seen. It is definitely not even near the worst Star Wars on Disney Plus I've seen. It is a good starting point for what we're gonna get. I am intrigued. I like seeing Jedi in Disney Plus. So yeah, you've got it. But I also like a show, and I know our friend Ray is probably not going to be a fan of this. This is going to be sounding like a show where the villain's going to probably win in the end at some point.
We'll find out. I mean, that doesn't usually happen, but we'll find out.
We'll find out. But yeah, this is going to be the rise of the Sith. But yeah, it's good. You should definitely check it out. And I'm looking forward to the next 6 weeks with this. So yeah, enjoy The Acolyte, and we will see you next week. Talk to you later.